Okay, great. So I think Alexis just made us go live, which is fantastic. And I'm just going to make us go live on Instagram because I am live. You cannot have a live stream without streaming on Instagram. So hello, everyone. Welcome to, this is our 4th edition of our Let's Bubble live stream. I'm super excited today to interview Raman Frey. He is the founder of Good People's Dinners, GP Dinners, and the co-founder of Camp Earnest. I've known Raman for many years. Through Facebook and the circles in San Francisco. He's been there longer than I have. Many people who know me know that I moved over from the UK in 2012. And I might have met you not long after then. And you've been doing these dinners for a very long time. And they're really, really interesting because basically he gets really great people together, which is definitely along the lines of what we're trying to do at Bubbl. So welcome, Raman. I want to make sure I say your name right. Welcome, Raman. Thank you so much for coming on. And we're excited to talk to you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Haley. I really appreciate being here. Yeah, I arrived in San Francisco 25 years ago in 2000. And at that point, I was still in the art world. We opened a gallery, Frey Norris, in 2002, and that ran through 2012. And since then, really the main thing that I've done is as a community builder and event producer.
Incredible, like two of the things that we admire most at Bubbl, to be honest. So maybe if you could tell us a little bit, because you've been there through all the tech bubbles, right? And the first, you said 25 years, so that's 2000. So you've been there all through. So does that mean you got there at the end of the first Bubbl? Is that kind of?
Gosh,
pardon the pun. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, no, I guess so. I remember in those days. So I had lived in Miami, New York City. I went to college upstate New York. I briefly went to graduate school in Virginia. And I was offered a pretty good job in San Francisco. I went there. I did that for about 2 years. Then I had this kind of goal in the back of my head to open my own first business by the time I was 29. So we pulled that off.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome.
And
goals are a good thing, aren't they? Goals are good.
Yes. Deadlines are good. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, when we first opened, I already had this experience of people walking in with kind of like very significant budgets for the art in their home. And so I thought that was really interesting. This led to just friendships, time spent in these homes. I certainly flirted a few times with jumping ship and becoming part of these technology companies. And then eventually in 2012, I got my first kind of at least consulting gig in one of these. And I've been involved in maybe 40, 50 startups since then in a variety of capacities, mostly just advisory. And we started hosting events in 2012. So since then, we've done over 1,000 events since 2000.
That's right. So you said, and then the actual dinners, the Good People Dinners, which is your like kind of personal version of that, because I know you do this as an expert on behalf of other companies. How many of those have you done? Because when I was at the other one the other night, you said the number and I didn't catch it, but it was a lot.
Oh, I think so that series is really where we get to creatively shine. We can do it on any topic that interests us. They're not sponsored, so you have to buy a ticket to join one of those. And that series, we're up to our 189th dinner. But I just got back from New York City, where I put together a dinner in a private kitchen space down on Canal Street. 100 technology company. So most of what we do these days is run these dinner series for other companies. Then we do our own ticketed. Then we run retreats, summits, and offsites, usually off the record up here at Camp Earnest near Yosemite. And then we also do ticketed retreats up here at Yosemite.
So can we just go back to, I love the name Good People Dinners. That's fantastic. It is what it is, isn't it? And so can I just ask, how do you get to be a good person?
Yeah, I mean, first of all,
tell us how it came about, because it's a great brand. I love it. And everyone I met there was great.
It's cheeky and it's meant to make us just a little uncomfortable, I think, but also to call some things into question. So, we think in the West, now keep in mind, I almost was a professor of religion and primarily Buddhism. And so philosophy has always really interested me. So we in the West, we come out of this Cartesian background, Descartes. We come out of the Abrahamic faith, the Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. And in it, we really have this deep-seated belief, it's in our language, that I am this person. We have like a Platonic ideal. And if I stick to my platonic ideal, I'm a good person. And if I'm out of fidelity with my true self, thanks Shakespeare, then I'm not such a good person. And what I want to do is call all of that into question and say, you know what? Any one of us, we're so malleable. We're so contextual. Things change. We change. Context can demand the best or the worst in us. And so when we started, I thought, I want to create a context where every prompt and every part of the environment people find themselves in brings out the best in them. And I think we've succeeded in doing that. I think people who really like having deep, meaningful, vulnerable, sometimes a little uncomfortable discussions and conversations with both with friends and with strangers, they like the culture that we've built. And people who just, kind of never want to get off the let's do business train and just do networking all the time, it's not as fun for them. So, and I think that's part of a strong brand. It's like you're good for some people, you're not good for others.
Well, no, if I could just, and also reflect on this myself, and what I love personally, I think that the more I do Bubbl, the more I realize how well suited and I fit in actually with the arts as much as tech, if not more. Having worked 7 years at Intel, now I'm just starting to realize how maybe I'm much more creative than I gave myself credit for. And here I am, because I hang out with, at your dinner, there were a lot of journalists there. The particular one I went to, it was about peace. It was amazing. There was a lady who did a reading of her book, of her story, and it was of her childhood. I found it extremely I won't say artsy, that's not the word I'm trying to say, but I just found it extremely refreshing, because living in, dare I say, San Francisco, everything's not so artsy. Even though I'm a member of Shack 15, it was wonderful to just be at a dinner where, everyone was just almost like traditionally just like connecting. That's the whole point of it, right? They're actually long seated dinners, like table style, like family style, as you call it in the US. Of course, they're beautifully plated dinners. Like, let's talk about that. So you get there. I just want to talk about this format for just a few minutes, because I love it. I think it's great. I think it's an amazing brand, and I have a suggestion for you at the end. But the dinners, people arrive, and there's obviously the mingling, and then the seating down, and that's not really designed. It's kind of like sit wherever you like, and then you kind of rotate. The food comes out. It's farm to table. It's really
we have a great roster of chefs. Yeah,
you do, didn't he? And the one we had, he cooked for Google, and who else? That's all. Airbnb,
he was the first chef who set up the kitchen at Airbnb.
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah. So he was one of those guys. And then I met. So the only thing for me, and this is going to be a bit of a plug for Bubbl, but here's what I'm going to say anyway, right? Raman, that I loved it, but there were some people there I met that were really cool, but it was such a quick meeting, so I didn't get that chance to do that next thing, which would be immerse a bit, which is like what some of the weekend type things you do, I think, and that you can only do if you spend more time with someone, because there were some fascinating people. There was so many people I would have loved to have gotten to know, and of course, if I went to your next dinner, they might be there, they might not be, right? So there'd be a mix, right? People coming in and out from different,
we've experimented with putting everyone in touch after each dinner, or doing so after retreats. And what we have found is people don't want to do it after the dinners. Like, that's the consensus. There's 30-40% want it. And they kind of do want it at the retreats. So I think it speaks to what you just said. I think the retreats, we go a little deeper, we have a little more time, and people get a little more comfortable staying in touch. But I do try to, respect people's desire for whatever level of involvement feels good to them.
And can we just ask about, so you founded the dinners, and this is just before we move on to the next thing, was it planned, or was it sort of just a coincidence, or what, like that particular piece? Were you doing the corporate retreats before that, like those dinners, or which came first?
When I remember 2012, almost all of my friends were starting companies. And so that's why I was getting all those little consulting gigs, helping them just with their foundational branding, marketing, sales, setting up their CRM, whatever. And there was a guy, Zach, who went on to, I think he started Hint Health. And he and I did like 10 dinners together just for fun. We just invited friends. We didn't charge anyone. They went really well. I take a lot of notes. I was learning. I was really enjoying them. Then we parted ways. And then eventually I just started numbering them and asking friends for, I think at that point, $65 a person, just trying to break even. And then slowly a format emerged. and a ton of learning. I mean, so much learning that I'm working on a book manuscript about this right now. But again, a lot of it revolves around we show up as we are expected to show up in context. And an extreme example would be if I invited you to a beach party or out on a boat with all of our friends, you show up dressed a certain way with a certain expression. If you're invited to a funeral, completely different person. And we started to realize that places, and I think this speaks to your business, places bring out different versions of us. And I think traditional hospitality venues, this will be in my book, really come out of the tradition of the Sun King, of Louis XV, and of France. And a lot of our words, hotel, restaurant, entrepreneur, these are all words that came out of that period and out of that milieu. And it was an attempt to take a little bit of what Louis XV was giving the most privileged and sell that to the bourgeoisie. And now that's become this fixed template that we see everywhere on earth. And so I like the version of people who come to a dinner party at someone's home. I like that person more than if I meet you at the bar at the Ritz.
Yeah.
Right? We can still have a good time and enjoy a martini, but it's a different thing.
So can I just touch on that for a sec? Because I think this is super interesting. So it's funny. I was developing Bubbl. You know, Bubbl was kind of an accident. Here I was. I moved to California in 2012 myself from England. I'd been living in London as an Aussie. And I came here to ski, honestly, because you can drive to the skiing here. You don't have to fly. And in Australia, like, Australia you can ski.
You get like 6 months of skiing too.
Yeah. So like I was stoked to be moving here, and it's tech and it's amazing. And I wanted to do a startup, but I didn't know what to do. And when I was ideating Bubbl, so obviously, the funny thing is that it was 6 years under my nose, this idea of this thing I had no idea what I could do to change the world. It was under my nose for 6 years, but forget that. So I'm ideating Bubbl, and then Elon Musk is on TV. This is like, a year and a half ago when I used to listen to Elon Musk. And he was talking about his son and how it was funny. He's got an autistic son, I think. And his son said to him, "Dad, why is it that when we go to restaurants, no one talks to each other? But and it's funny, we go and sit there and we have dinner in the company of strangers, but we don't talk to them." And Elon Musk was communicating his son's astute observations about restaurants. And at the same time, I was thinking and ideating, to your point, with Bubbl, and it's really interesting. You and I have never had this conversation until just now. I was adding that what happens in Bubbl is, like, you'll turn up, and this is before we even had the platform, when it was just a ski house and we didn't have the software to support this. But people would turn up to the ski house and walk in and put their bag on the kitchen table and say, "Oh yeah, I'm Todd," and everyone go, "Oh yeah, Todd, hey Todd, yeah, I've heard about it." And everyone would know who Todd was, and everyone would welcome him, and immediately he was included. It was immediately inclusive, just like your dinners. They're at a home, and so there's a lot to be said. And even now, I'm at a Startup Grown conference. I mean, we all go to conferences. What I'm trying to create and what we're doing, we've got Startup Grown houses at this conference. Well, they're Bubbl houses at Startup Grown. And it's really hard to communicate. It's like, what's going to happen in the kitchen tonight at 11 p.m. when we're all standing around the kitchen having coffee, just shooting the shit, really shooting the breeze, or in the morning. And I'm like, well, I've got my pajamas, and I'm like, well, that's okay. Dan, the investor, hasn't seen me in my pajamas, but that's okay, because like I'm. Some people would be cool with that. They don't have to walk out with this. I'm going to be sleeping on the couch, so I'm going to be in my pajamas. But that's good. But that's real. Like, it's very vulnerable.
Vulnerable, and informal. I think you and I, in different ways, are trying to solve for the same thing, and it is one of the most fundamental needs humanity has, and that's to really feel a growing sense of trust and rapport and connection and community, and to be able to make new friendships at any point in our lives. And that just doesn't happen in extremely formal context. When you were talking just now, I was thinking about how at my college, the most memorable moments and some of those epiphanies of incredible learning, they all happened like in the hall, when you randomly connect with someone and just drop into a discussion with them. And I just think we need to redesign things in all different ways, 100 approaches, to make those kinds of creative collisions and those kinds of serendipitous connections, like to engineer for that. The Pixar campus is engineered that way. If you read Ed Catmull's book, Creativity Incorporated, they engineered it in such a way that they were trying to create creative collisions between departments of people that in a normal corporation would never interact. So the placement, the architecture, the placement of the bathrooms, the placement of the food, how you get to the garage, everything is designed to funnel people into places and then to offer them prompts because there's fun, interesting, hysterical stuff everywhere. Right.
That's amazing. So architecture, this touches on architecture and art. So can we move on to like your camp? So tell us about Camp Earnest, how that came about, because so here's the interesting thing, as we know now, I mean, you're effectively doing like forest bathing in your camp, aren't you? My understanding is, I haven't been to Camp Earnest, but it's a summer camp and it's in the woods. Tell us about that and what kind of things you're bringing to there. We've got your Bubbl up here, like but in general, just tell us about the Camp Earnest. Because I'm just seeing this dinner here. It looks amazing. This one on the left.
Yeah, before I jump into that, I just wanted to say one more thing about, because I was reflecting before, I knew we were going to have this discussion. I was reflecting on, what you're solving for. There is a pain point that I've always like kind of kept my eye on, and I don't know how best to do it. Maybe Bubbl will solve this. And it looks like this. Gosh, I miss these 6 friends of mine. And if I want to get us all together, it's this Herculean lift. It's this huge, right? I have to go, I'm just going to have to front the money and rent the big Airbnb or get the hotel or commit and then hope everyone comes along with me. And so it's all very clunky. It's all very difficult. And therefore, most of the times we might have these wonderful adventures with friends, they don't happen. And so I think one of the things that you're solving for, and I realize sometimes you're creating these bubbles around professional conferences, but I think you're solving for that. And I would love to see it be incredibly easy. People are just like, let's all go skiing. Let's all go do this thing. Broadcast. Everyone gets to show up and have a great time together.
So Raman, sorry, I'm not very good with double A, am I? I definitely want to touch on that. So when I started, when we launched Bubbl, the first thing that Alexis and I'm like, and I said to him, well, Alexis, there's private bubbles and public bubbles. They're 2 different things. And, because this idea that people would share houses with people they didn't know, the only test I had for it was the 50-year-old idea of ski leasing in Lake Tahoe and the Hamptons. That was the only data I had. But I figured also the world of backpacking and youth hosteling, although that's commercial. So back to the private trips. Yeah, I wanted to build a tool that I figured if we can make it easy for you to get those friends together, then more people are going to do it, to your exact point. And so, we built the tool that you can make a private listing. You can share with your friends. There's 2 versions of the listing, which I probably should point out. Alexis, maybe you can scroll down and see the planning stage. There's a stage of the listing, and it's either planning or confirmed. Yours is confirmed because it's definitely happening, but there is a Bubbl stage called planning. Oh, yep, there, he's brought it up. And that just means that maybe the properties haven't booked yet. The leaders are putting it out there as a proposal, manifest it, put it out there in the world, put it out there in blue lights or whatever. And, this is the idea, is share it around. We've got the questionnaire in there, like as part of it, so you can gather feedback and gather preferences. You can share the listing, you can update it at any time. And then at the right time, you can say, okay, this is confirmed, we're going to do it. You can take instant booking. So we did build the platform to be very, very easy for people to just use it for their own personal stuff, and very, cost effective for that. And we're still working out our business model around the private bubbles, but I think, for whatever, free is a pretty good word. It's just that when they pay through the platform, then we have to recover our Stripe fees. So, of course, but the intent is like more socialization rather than less. That's the important. And the thing is, it's not that we're trying to attract professional conference leaders. I think what we've realized is that we've got to get trusted Bubbl leaders on board first, so we can get past cold start and get with our network effects. And so the sorts of people who know what they're doing and can almost teach the other people. Do you know how many people I know who've got maybe a coaching service or this, that, and the other, who've said, in fact, there's one, he wrote Kenton, because he'll probably be in the program soon because he's ex-Google and he's very, very, maybe still at Google. He's very smart. Kenton's doing a retreat. He said, I'm launching my coaching program and I want to run a retreat. He didn't know how to do it. Yeah. And so, that's that thing. I want people to learn and I want us to learn with our software. All our software does is help people, but of course we're way more than the software. What we're actually delivering. No,
I think that's another, what you just said is another wonderful use case, which is, if you've got a budget, you're going to take your team somewhere, you don't know how to do it. let's make it unbelievably easy and kind of all inclusive. Like here's your place. I mean, if you come to Camp Earnest, you've got a venue, you've got a chef, all the food and drink, all the lodging. We can add on activities, and we try to just make it super, super easy.
Tell us how big it is. How it looks huge. Like, are those people staying there? All those people in that photo?
So when we bought this was a this was a summer camp for kids that started in 1946. And when we bought it, it hadn't been a functioning summer camp for at least 20 years. We bought it in 2020.
Fixer-upper, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And like, we got the condition report, and we just love this place so much. And I shared the 30-page condition report with several general contractors, and they were all like, please don't do this. This is a disaster. This is a nightmare. Run. Because there was a lot of deferred maintenance. So, you know, I mean, I don't mind being vulnerable. We really poured our life savings and every waking minute into this place. And now we call it, everything works great. I mean, now we call it our mountain paradise. I mean, we rebuilt the bathhouse. It used to be the boys and girls bathrooms, and now it has showers and toilets and a cold tub and an 8-person Finnish style sauna and a cedar hot tub. You know, we have a year-round creek. We did build a tool shed over there, which collapsed 2 years ago when we had like 6 feet of snow. So that was.
So you do have snow, so you can't operate in the winter. Do you live there in winter?
We're here. Yeah, we're here year round. So we're only at 3,500 feet. So I think if you live in San Francisco, it's like the elevation's a little bit hard to compute. But basically, at 3,500 feet, we get a little bit of snow. We have a mild winter. 6 feet had never happened at this elevation. Like people who'd lived here 50 years, like, this is the most snow on the ground I've ever seen. So.
So you're near Yosemite. Just to tell everyone, you're near Yosemite, right? You're an hour's drive.
Right, we're near Yosemite, 3,500 feet.
Everyone in the world, including all the Australian and Brits on this here today, would know this.
We're 30 minutes from a ski resort. I've never been this close to a ski resort, Dodge Ridge. So we get season passes. So in the winter, we have groups who come up and will often ski up there during the day. But yeah, a lot of people come here for Yosemite. Yosemite is within 2 counties, Tuolumne County on the north and Mariposa County on the south, and we're in Tuolumne County.
And so the idea of Camp Earnest, because the thing about Bubbl is Bubbl equals literally the people, the experience, and the stay. And they're all very, very important because, to your point about context, they all provide the environment. So you bought, and what you called it, Camp Earnest? Is that tell us about the name?
We revived the original name. There was some guy, we don't know him very much about him, but named Ernest. He was the first person who built this property. The lodge is from 1946. So we revived the name. We have 21 acres. I mean, we fixed up the cabins. We built some yurts. We added a cottage. We're doing a big refurbishment up at Hilltop. We have a hall up there for yoga and meditation. We're doing a big deck on the backside. So we're still building. We're still doing stuff. We created a pretty extensive garden over there, and we're about to assemble a greenhouse. At some point, I think it's inevitable we will end up with chickens. But you know, my vision for the property, we have really good soil here, and my vision for the property, what Karin and I have been talking about since we got here, was this should be a food forest. So we're planting edible species all the time to see what takes and what can survive here. There are a lot of things that can survive by climate, but not necessarily by insect or herbivore. So we're figuring it out, and eventually we will have edible species everywhere here.
Amazing. So tell us about this. Tell us about this particular Wilderness Kitchen. Is this your first one of these, or is this something that you do regularly?
No, I think this is our 4th or 5th retreat with Maria Finn. Maria Finn is a bit of a Bay Area celebrity, especially she's kind of an elder in the foraging scene. She had a wonderful book that came out recently called Forage, Gather, Feast. And I was surprised. Every time she keeps threatening to stop doing retreats, but I think she loves them here. We're right now, the morel season at our elevation is just starting, right? And so we're going to go out, we're going to forage morels, fiddlehead ferns. We usually find some other edible species, some other mushrooms. And then the whole point of it is to bring what we forage back and to learn to work with it. So a lot of the meals for this, when we usually post menus at least as a guide. And a lot of meals for this one are very improvisational. We'll have plenty of ingredients, but we'll have fun with whatever we find in the forest.
And does everyone cook together? Everyone's cooking it, or she's just telling everyone what to cook? Is it kind of like
for
cooking
this
classes?
one? Yes. Yeah. I think one of the things that's really easy for this particular retreat is pizza. So we usually get some pizza ovens going, and pretty much anything we find in the woods will be good on pizza. So people end up making their own pizzas. But there's all kinds of other activities.
How long do I have to? So is it just morels, or are you going to be finding other things in there? Because by the way, FYI, my husband, Drew, like no kidding, he's a bush tucker guy. Like he's in America. We go for walks in San Francisco, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you can eat this one."
There's a lot of edible species in the Bay Area. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, you can eat this and taste this, and like he's actually knows all this stuff. So I mean, I'm assuming there's a lot up there, and she's sort of just, and everyone's taking their basket, are they, and picking the morels?
Exactly.
I didn't know this was so possible around here.
This is for don't if you're coming to this, you're ready to put on some gloves, get down on your knees, and really experience the forest with all five senses. Like that's what this is about. I think it could be a revelation for people. I mean, once you realize that, not all food comes from restaurants and grocery stores, I think it kind of changes people. It's a kind of connection to the earth and a kind of way of feeling, I think, empowered. Yeah. If I was in some Paleolithic clan, if this was 50,000 years ago, I'd be that guy. I'd be like, can I eat this? Is this a medicine? I just seem to be built that way, to scan the environment like your husband.
I took I've lived in France, and when I traveled as my analog nomad back in the days in my camper van, I remember one day we went mushroom picking in France.
It's a huge part of the culture there.
I know, but you know what? So we had the full thing of mushrooms, and we went to the pharmacist, because you got to take it to the chemist and go to the pharmacist and say, can we eat any of these? And she gave us 2. And we're like, bullshit. I bet they weren't. I bet she just took the best ones for herself. We were like, I can't be, most of the mushrooms we were not allowed to eat, but we weren't going to test the theory. So we just, obviously, but it was cool. And we picked all the mushrooms, and then I couldn't believe how many we couldn't eat. Or so she said we couldn't eat. But a very rewarding experience. And I think you're right. I think it's that's probably the only time I've done that. Again, my husband's really good at fishing. I mean, he can live off the land, he's told me, and that when the world shuts down, then we're going to be fine, because he can hunt snakes and all sorts of things, and we'll be good. But I think it's going to be.
We will also have time at this retreat for soaking in the hot tub or the sauna. We have a silent. Yeah, we have a silent disco set too, which is incredibly popular.
Silent disco. Wow.
Yeah, it's a 3-channel silent disco set. So we'll bust that out here in front of the lawn, on the lawn in front of the lodge, and people seem to love that. So and we'll have some fire.
Now you've got a second retreat. Can we go down? So Alexa, scroll down. So it's a couple of days. Yeah, he's going to scroll down.
So Wilderness Kitchen is soon. It's
2 nights.
Wilderness Kitchen is in 3 weeks or so, but we still have room. Not much, but a lot of great folks are signed up for that one. And then the next one after that is
he's going to find the other one. Have you got it,
Design for Exponential Impact.
Is it up there? Oh, I thought I saw it up the top. He's looking for the next one.
It's fun.
He must know where it is. I think it's at the top, Alexis.
No, you found it. I see.
Yeah, there it is. Design for. Yeah. Tell us about that one, because that's different.
It is. Yeah. So it's great that you have found that kind of ikigai intersection, overlapping Venn diagram of the things that intrinsically motivate you and light you up, and that you can earn a living at. And similarly, right in the middle of that for us is this retreat. You could almost argue that this retreat encompasses what Karin and I care most about in the world. And it was 2 to 3 years in the making. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, Jeff Leitner, who started the PhD program in social impact at UC San Diego, he and I were introduced by Yarrow Craner, and Jeff will get one of the dinners in Chicago. And we've done dinners in Chicago, Austin, New York, Miami, LA, London, Singapore. And so I'm always looking for chefs and venues and speakers. And so we got on the phone and had a great conversation, just kept talking all the time. And then we eventually came up with a really ambitious thing we wanted to do, and neither of us had the zeal to go out and raise a few $1 million to make it get off the ground. So we put it down, and then it developed into this coursework that he and his friend Jason created. And they've done dozens of projects all over the world. They just facilitated and created a peace center in Rwanda. They've done fascinating work all over the world. And it's all about getting away from all of the, whenever we try to do something, we are hemmed in by these imagination fences, the edge of what we think is possible, practical, achievable. And they have this beautiful process. It's it's going to be an intense week. It's Monday to Friday. People are expensing this at work because it's about completely transcending those limitations. And so our goal is one that kind of scares us a little bit and is very exciting. So if you are working on access to clean water for people who don't have it, our goal is for you to see your work help 10 times more people. And the only way you get to that exponential level of impact, whatever your focus is, social or ecological, you have to kind of rethink everything. So I would really encourage people, if they're listening now and they check out the retreat, read the 13-part lesson plan that they've created. It'll be the meals.
Can you scroll down to the experience a bit more? So
the meals will be great. Everything gets great about Camp Earnest, but this is a context of serious mutual learning for anyone who's going to attend. And I think this is right at the edge of what's possible in the world. Yeah,
very interesting. No, it's interesting because on the weekend I was at the Napa Stream Fest, and I was there with Hunter Boone, who we actually had on the thing last week, and the film director of Touching the Sky. He's touching the sky, and actually the key guy in it, Touching the Sky, this documentary about acro yoga, which, by the way, I'm going to do acro yoga. We're going to do it. Just an aside.
But Jenny Sauer Klein and her partner started that. She's also in the Bay Area.
Oh, yeah. Like I literally, by the way, there's a photo of me on stage at the Napa Stream Fest as the volunteer on stage doing the acro yoga, I volunteered. But back to him. So this film director was interesting because he turns out he's like a tech guy. He's like had a couple of tech companies, but films are his kind of side thing. Like they're his passion projects. And you can tell like he's actually really good at the film. Like what he was like, every way he was talking about it, and they showed the first 13 minutes of it. And to his point, when he started collaborating to build this, to do this documentary, or this film called Touching the Sky, which is about a blind guy who takes up acro yoga and really discovers the touch and discovers himself again after becoming blind as a child. And it's great because it's as he says, the film's not about yoga. The film's about people trusting each other, and it's about touch. And it's about other things that are so important in the human themes. And I thought, this is a guy who, he's had his companies. He does tech he does tech, and then but this is his thing, and he's obviously really, really good at it. And by the way, he'd done like 40 films. And I was like, wow. Yeah, he introduced himself as a tech guy. Maybe it's because I've got a tech company. And then the whole thing oh my God, everything was going over my brain. Okay, what kind of film could I do? Like why couldn't I be a film director? You know what I mean? Like it was really inspiring. So there's one other thing I just want to say about Bubbl and about your bubbles. And Raman, I would say from going to your dinner, I was inspired by was that we have a saying in Bubbl that if you want to go and evolve yourself, you go and hang out with others who are maybe more evolved than you. You go out, you hang around the people for where you want to be and where you want to go, so that they kind of rub off on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, guaranteed you'll become like them. That's right.
That's right. And I feel like you're putting together these Bubbl experiences, pardon me for using out that term. You're definitely putting together these very, very insightful Bubbl experiences. And by definition, you do attract good people, Raman, because obviously you guys are really great people, and you're very, very, I mean, who would have thought we'd be talking about, philosophy, but of course we are, because we're with Raman Frey. I'm really excited. So when is the second Bubbl? So can you just give us the 2 dates again, just because, we're going to be reposting this on our social media, and we want to make sure that, and we'll keep people up to date about obviously all of your future amazing experiences.
Sure. Yeah. So the Wilderness Kitchen, it's May 16th to 18th. So it's just
coming up
Friday to Sunday. It's a standard weekend, And then the Design for Exponential Impact is Monday to Friday. So it starts June 23rd and ends June 27th.
Okay, and if people wanted to see, they wanted to see the program, so how Bubbl works, you just contact your leader, which is Raman, and he'll give you all the info. But the idea is that, you know, hopefully in the Bubbl listing, a lot of the details are there. There might be a link to that, that, what do you call it, that there might be a link to that program, or if not, you can find out from Raman all about it. Yeah, do we have any questions? I'll just check if we've got anyone. We've had a few really interesting comments. Astrocartography. Yeah. He's talking about, Zopoetic is asking about, is commenting on astrocartography. Can you see the comments?
I can't. No.
Oh, you can't? Okay, hang on. So we've got the bubbles. People have been making comments throughout the whole show.
Oh, shoot. Wait, there you go. I can.
What,
it was just this tab over here.
Yeah. People are just talking about, are there any questions for Raman about what he does, who he is? It's okay. You don't have to have questions. We don't have to have questions, but if there is any, people can ask them. I tell you what, I'm excited by, so you're going to have these coming through the summer potentially, right? Some of these. We have events at Camp Earnest scheduled all the way through next January, when we will host our winter language retreat again, which is usually winter like 10. Yeah, it's for 10 to 15 really established authors, so nonfiction, fiction, or poets. And it's really a whole week where it's like being alone together. It's like 80% just work on your manuscript. And then in the evenings, we come together for dinner, really. I mean, all the meals are provided, but we have some conversations about what we're writing. The last one went great. I mean, everyone became pretty close. You're writing a book. What's your book about? You said your book was about... It's really a philosophy of hospitality, but in a lot of ways, it touches on everything, right? There are, I think, any adult has a combination of privileges and responsibilities, and I'm just at the point in my life where I want to leave the world better, and I found it, and I know a lot of people who are like that, and so we're deliberately creating our own dinner series and retreats that focus on impact. You know, not to get too heady for people, but there's a 3-horizon framework. You can think of the first horizon in anything. Imagine democracy and government, or our economy. And that's everything that we know and have learned and have adapted to, some of us better than others. Some of us, we truly excel at completely assimilating that system we were given and doing really well within it. The second horizon is adjacent. For instance, in economics, that would be circular economics. That would be an attempt to erase waste. In other words, all the energy and all the materials stay in circulation for as long as possible. That third horizon is like it's almost unthinkable. So like that retreat that we were talking about, Design for Exponential Impact, that is your chance to inhabit that third horizon. So I'll give you an example in economics. What would that look like? That would look like all of human civilization and industry is intentionally designed to cause biodiversity to thrive, to cause carbon in the atmosphere to come down. So we would become essentially a steward's keystone. So that's really where my heart is at, deep down. But there's not a lot of budget for it yet. I think there's this nascent regenerative movement that's coming, and I want to just help people to live into that third horizon so that they know it can be real. There is actually Regen World, and we're partnering with Regen World, and we already did that at South by Southwest, interestingly. That's great. And they're doing the next event in Seattle. Regen World is this thing I learned about too, because I didn't understand much more beyond sustainability, and there is a whole movement, definitely California, and at Austin they had a week, and we had Bubbles for that, and we're going to be doing their event in Seattle. So yeah, I should get you guys connected. Also, there's Human Tech Conference coming up. I'll probably be interviewing one of the founders of that, so there's a lot of overlap with some of these ideas. But yeah, thank you so much. You've given us 40 minutes of your time, Raman. We really appreciate it, and we're really excited to be having your bubbles on Bubbl, and to be bubbling with you sometime. And I'm definitely going to be going to one of your retreats soon. Wonderful. Well, thank you for having me, and yeah, hopefully we'll get to spend more time together soon. Yeah. All right. Cool. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for
Take care.
coming.